The film opens with Patricia, a woman preparing a meal in the kitchen as usual. Her husband, David, comes home earlier than usual, but something seems wrong. David whispers to his wife to run away. He can't control his body and is holding a knife. Before Patricia can react, she is stabbed. Then David hits her on the head with a hot pan. She struggles to crawl outside while her husband, seemingly delirious, says this isn't him. David tries to resist but fails, and Patricia is fatally stabbed. David screams in pain while a little girl is locked in a dark room. A podcast is about the incident when the police arrive at the scene and see David with the weapon in his hand, staring blankly at Patricia. The police search the house and find their daughter, Mihal, locked in a room that resembles a cage. David repeatedly mentioned that someone was controlling him to commit this terrible act, which is why people nicknamed him the Puppet Killer. David was sentenced to death by lethal injection. The listeners of this podcast are Mihal and her roommate, Charlie. Years have passed, and Mihal is now a university student. The case is brought up again because David is scheduled to be executed in just 1 week. At the time, Mihal was about 7 or 8 years old, so she doesn't seem to remember everything very clearly. She only knows that it was a very horrific event and that she hates David. Whenever she's stressed, Mihal has a habit of scratching her hands until they bleed. She only stops when Charlie tells her to. The next day at university, we are introduced to more friends in the group: Joe, a medical student; Glenn, a weightlifting enthusiast; and Mihal's boyfriend, Danny. They are about to finish the school year and are planning a small party on the dorm's rooftop. Lately, Mihal has been experiencing more frequent mental stress. Images from the past keep appearing. A voice greets Mihal, and at that moment, Charlie calls her. The two leave, and indeed, someone has written hello. That night, while Mihal was fast asleep, Charlie was still diligently researching the story of the puppet killer. At the moment, Mihal was locked in the small room. A light shone in, revealing 3 cracks in the door. That's when Charlie woke her up. She had just sleepwalked out into the hallway and drawn those 3 lines on the wall with her own blood. This wasn't the first time Mihal had sleepwalked. Doctors said it was a common occurrence when patients experience psychological shock. The next morning, they all went together to buy alcohol. Because he was underage, Glenn had forged his ID, while Mihal wondered why so many black crows had appeared in the past few days. After buying the alcohol, Charlie told everyone to return to the dorm, saying she had an unexpected appointment, and then went to a mysterious house. Danny took Mihal up to her room and left. Once Mihal was alone, a message notification sounded on Charlie's computer. Curious, Mihal went to check and discovered her roommate was extensively researching an old murder case. Charlie was recording Mihal's sleepwalking episodes, seemingly every night. Suddenly, Charlie returned, slightly annoyed that her personal computer had been secretly viewed. Mihal asked why she was filming, and Charlie said it was because she cared about her. Charlie was trying to help Mihal stop sleepwalking, and she assured her that everything would be kept secret. A small, cozy party was held. Everyone was happy and discussing their upcoming goals. But when Glenn got drunk, he revealed himself to be a talkative and despicable person. Glenn mentions Mihal's father being a murderer, as well as her sleepwalking disorder. Mihal is shocked and realizes that Charlie was the one who revealed these things to Glenn. She angrily leaves, despite Charlie's repeated attempts to explain that she was only trying to help. Suddenly, Charlie freezes as if possessed by some force. Just like with David, she weakly cries for help, then unexpectedly stumbles backward and falls off the rooftop. The other 4 arrived too late. The police immediately came to the scene, and Mihal was questioned briefly because she was Charlie's roommate. They believed it was Charlie's rash decision, but Mihal revealed that before falling, she had seen fear in her best friend's eyes, as if Charlie was afraid of Mihal. She then walked home and noticed a flock of crows following her. Mihal was distraught and couldn't sleep. Then she heard something hitting the wall, the sound growing louder and more frequent. It was black crows swooping down on the wall and windows, terrifying her. 3 of the group sat together at a cafe to calm down. Danny tried to contact Mihal, but she didn't answer. Feeling uneasy, he went to Mihal's room and knocked on the door. She lay silently on her bed, too upset to say a word. Danny decided to wait for his girlfriend outside, and after several hours, he fell asleep. A loud slam of a door woke Danny. He realized Mihal had left her room and used the stairs to go to the rooftop. She had drawn those 3 lines on the wall again with blood and was sleepwalking. When Denny got there, he found his girlfriend right at the edge of the rooftop, and thankfully, he had woken her up in time. The couple went back downstairs and began to carefully review the videos Charlie had recorded. Mihal frequently drew those 3 lines whenever she sleepwalked. She believed it might be the light she saw when the police came to rescue her. This had impressed her and left a deep impression on her mind. Danny accidentally opened a picture of David, and Mihal immediately became annoyed and told him to quickly turn it off. The next morning, the dorm staff cleaning around the area discovered the bodies of 12 black crows. Charlie's mother then came to see Mihal, saying that Charlie always mentioned her whenever they talked. She then asked if Mihal and her friends could spare some time to attend the funeral service. Just then, Charlie's phone rang. Her mother answered, and the person on the other end said they wanted to see Mihal. It was Ruby, a psychic whom Charlie had secretly arranged to meet a few days earlier, and who now wanted to speak with the group. Everyone was a little suspicious, but out of curiosity, they decided to go. Ruby greeted and spoke with the others first. While Mihal waited in the living room, Ruby said Charlie had come to her because she sensed something very sinister inside Mihal, a spirit or something extremely evil. Mihal went to the bookshelf and found a book titled The Cult of Dolos. The book's symbol captivated Mihal, but before she could look at it, Ruby opened the door and told her that everything was ready. The psychic would perform a seance, summoning Patricia to question everyone in the group. Everyone held hands. Joe will hold on tight to the chair next to her. The chair meant for Charlie. Ruby believed Patricia knew the answer to Charlie's tragic death. Throughout the summoning ritual, everyone remained skeptical of Ruby, especially Glenn, and then a spirit possessed her. Beginning to scribble on a piece of paper, Ruby woke up, saw it, and was terrified, quickly crumpling the paper. Everyone wondered what the writing meant, and the most strongly reacted was Mihal. The message read, "I killed Charlie." Mihal wanted to know which spirit was inside Ruby. Ruby froze again and wrote, "I am Mihal." The girl was shocked by this and ran outside, while Joe and Glenn didn't quite believe in the supernatural. The group took Mihal back to her room to rest, and then the three of them reviewed Charlie's computer. They found her engrossed in a book, the same book Mihal had seen at Ruby's place. That's when she started sleepwalking again. Mihal used blood to write on the glass. The gist was that everything should be left to rest, because Charlie lied and therefore she had to die. Danny went to wake Mihal up, but she panicked, saying she had just seen Charlie before falling down below, and that she herself had told her she was doing something crazy. Danny took his girlfriend outside to clear her head, and there she recounted her past. After her mother was murdered and her father imprisoned, a woman adopted Mihal, but she was discriminated against compared to other children. She was then transferred to a man for upbringing. About 4 years ago, the story became even more horrific when Mihal was abused and tormented. One day, he hanged himself from a tree, leaving an apology carved into his body. What Mihal wants to convey here is that she always wished for her adoptive father to die for what he did. And it happened, just like Charlie's incident on the rooftop. Mihal was furious. The scene shifts to Joe, who returns to Ruby's house to borrow a book. Ruby warns her not to tell Mihal about this. She then messages Glenn and Danny to come meet her to investigate the mystery. But Glenn, having lost his girlfriend, is no longer calm and buries himself in weightlifting. Danny was with Mihal and couldn't come either. With no other options, Joe decided to investigate on her own, going to a library to read that book. It described a gruesome ritual to summon a malevolent demon to the world. It required a combination of light and darkness, innocence and sin. Those who dared resist the demon would succumb to its will, and their fear overwhelming them. Joe called Ruby to ask if the group was in danger, but it was too late. The demon possessed Joe, causing the cigarette she was smoking to fall onto the book. It also forced Joe to stab herself with a pen. The flames flared up, and Joe stood up, holding her face to the fire. Finally, her entire face was horribly burned. Meanwhile, the demon also attacked Glenn, who was in the gym. The demon forced him to significantly increase the weight he lifted, then lay down on the bench to lift it. Glenn held on for a long time, but eventually ran out of strength and slashed his face. Danny and Mihal, unaware of what was happening, were on their way to meet David, after Danny had successfully persuaded Mihal. After all these years, father and daughter reunited, but the atmosphere remained incredibly tense. Mihal asked David why he had murdered her mother all those years ago. He answered as before, insisting he hadn't done it. David was being controlled by a voice in his head, forcing him to act. It was Mihal. David revealed that years ago, he and his wife had performed a ritual to summon Dolos, the demon responsible for everything, hoping to possess its power. Because they needed both innocence and guilt, they used Mihal's blood. Patricia wanted the demon to possess her, but it tricked her and took over Mihal's mind. If she felt anger, the demon would feel the same way. Denny brought his girlfriend back to the dorm, intending to comfort her, but an invisible force stopped him as soon as he raised his hand. The police then called Danny to inform him of Joe and Glenn's deaths. Tell them to come to the police station immediately. Mihal was shocked by the incident and, believing she was responsible for their deaths, asked Danny to stay away. She left the room while the restrained police officer sat motionless. Wanting to end this, Mihal closed her eyes and walked into the middle of the road. But not a single car approached. They all stopped, keeping their distance. Taking a different approach, Mihal went onto a bridge, where Danny found her. He witnessed his girlfriend fall and be thrown back onto the bridge. Danny took Mihal to find Mrs. Ruby, but she was too terrified by the demon's power. Ruby refused to help and returned the money, lying that she had made up all of this. Not knowing who to turn to at this point, the couple sadly left in helplessness. However, shortly after they left, Ruby called Sheriff Rosen to report the situation. On the way back to the dorm, the demon Dolos inside Mihal's body asked what Ruby had given Danny earlier. He pretended not to know but was then forced to break a finger. He then took out the money Ruby had returned. It turned out that the money contained messages from Ruby to Denny, which Dolos had demanded he read after banging his head against the steering wheel. Ruby had instructed Denny to keep Mihal away from everyone and that she would contact him later. After reading it, Denny was controlled by Dolos, repeatedly slamming his head against the steering wheel until Mihal regained consciousness. But there was nothing she could do to stop him. She helplessly watched her boyfriend die before her eyes, understanding that she was responsible for what had happened. Anyone who knew the demon's secret or planned to approach it would be killed. Mihal went straight to the police station, saying she had killed many people and demanding that the officer shoot her immediately. Unfortunately, the officer had already been possessed by Dolos. His last heartbreaking words before he died were that he still had a family. 4 other officers rushed out, but Mihal repeated her plea, urging them to quickly kill her to end this madness. Then the 4 turned and shot at each other. At that moment, Mihal collapsed, and Chief Rosen appeared, firing a tranquilizer dart at her just in time before the demon realized what was happening. He then took Mihal to Ruby. According to her understanding, as long as she was being given the sedative, the demon inside would remain dormant. Rosen offered to give Mihal a dose, but Ruby stopped him. Because Dolos was still aware of her surroundings, she would awaken immediately if she sensed any threat. She had a plan to find a new vessel for the demon, and someone had used a similar method in 1954. The difference was that back then, they found a woman who had been in a coma for 2 years to serve as a vessel for the demon's soul. Then she died without waking up. Ruby wasn't so lucky, she couldn't find anyone suitable. So they would ask Mihal, who was currently struggling mentally with the demon. She gave her a pen and paper. And as planned, Mihal, even in her unconscious state, was able to answer Ruby's questions. Mihal said that her father wanted the demon's power, so they should trick the trickster. David is to be executed tomorrow, so they plan to transfer the demon to him. Ultimately, both David and Dolos will die. On the way to prison, Mihal regains consciousness. She sees her father one last time, persuading him to transfer the demon because it is currently asleep. They hold hands to begin the ritual. The execution time arrives. Mihal and Ruby watch from outside while David is tied to a chair. Just as the doctor injects him, the demon seems to awaken. It grips the doctor, giving Mihal a sinister smile. But it appears to be just David's imagination. The injection continues, and he dies. Ruby and Mihal are relieved to be free from the demon. But then Mihal gives another haunting smile. The movie ends here. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.